Welcome to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This, the show where we have the tough conversations around aging and caring for a loved one. Whether you're an adult child or an aging parent or anyone caring for a loved one, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Angela Vanderpool, and each episode we dive into actionable tips, heartfelt stories, and expert guidance to support you on your journey. Let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This. I'm your host, Angela Vanderpool, and today we're continuing our special series highlighting each of the 5 communities managed by Dharma Healthcare Management, our podcast sponsor and leader in compassionate, relationship-centered senior living. Each of these communities is different with its own personality, traditions, and heartbeat, but they all reflect Dharma's deeper mission to honor the people and the stories that make up this chapter of life. Today, we're shining the spotlight on Fountain Plaza Retirement, a beloved independent senior living community that's been serving Southern Oregon for over 30 years. I'm joined today by Charmagne Blackaby, General Manager, and James Denner, Marketing Director. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for having us. I'm excited.
Thank you. Hey. So I thought today we could start by talking a little bit about the legacy and history of Fountain Plaza. Fountain Plaza has been a part of the Southern Oregon community for more than 3 decades, which is pretty incredible. What does it mean to you both to be a part of a place with that kind of legacy?
So the Horton family has always been, ever since I was a kid growing up in the Rogue Valley, part of the community. And that it's really important to me to be part of that team because as I was going through my career before I came to Fountain Plaza, I would do something called the competitive market analysis, where you're looking at all your competitors and what they have to offer. And throughout my entire career, Fountain Plaza was always at the top of where I wanted to set the bar and where I wanted my other buildings that I was in to be at. So for me to be part of a community that has a reputation like that is very important. I feel like I'm part of my community, not just the building that I'm in, but Medford and the surrounding areas, that I'm part of something that's bigger than me.
That's great. Thanks, James. Charmaine, how about you?
Mine's a little bit different from James. I haven't been in the Valley since I was a little kid, but I started working at Fountain Plaza when I was 21 years old, and so about 17 years ago. And ever since I started, I've just seen that the dedication to seniors has been very consistent across the board from our owners, our managing agent, our employees. And it's very refreshing to see a community that really puts a lot of value on its seniors versus profitability, let's say. Mm-hmm. And I feel very sheltered and thankful to have been part of this community for such a long time because I hear a lot of great things from the community of how they perceive Fountain Plaza. There's a lot of integrity that goes with what we do here. And I think it really shows in the care for our seniors and our employees.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty much it. And I think the Horton family continues to just bring that along with every generation that takes over. And they really are in this for the seniors.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. Next, I would like to just get maybe a little bit more personal because obviously this work in this field is all about the heart and often becomes pretty deeply personal to us. So I'm wondering if each of you could talk a little bit about what originally drew you to this kind of work and talk a little bit about that for me.
So well, I stumbled, I guess, upon this industry. My dad worked for Fountain Plaza before I did. And there happened to come an opening for a temporary receptionist position, and he volunteered his own daughter.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, I don't really recall an interview process or anything like that. I showed up ready to answer phones, got a little bit of training with the full intent of completing that temporary position and then moving on from there, going to college, get a banking job, something in the corporate world. And obviously that didn't happen. I stayed and really am very thankful that I did. I think I came to Fountain Plaza and it became home away from home. And I didn't want to leave anymore. It's been such a fulfilling industry to be in, let alone here at Fountain Plaza, that it's hard to look out there and not want to come back home. If that makes sense? My dad's worked here. My husband's worked here. Come home, really. And the residents that I come see every day are my grandparents and my family.
Oh, I love that. Yes. How about you, James?
So I very similarly kind of stumbled upon, senior living. I was putting myself through school mowing lawns at a community, and my boss pulled up one day, saw me talking to residents, and kind of gave me the side eye as he was driving by. And I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble. And he called me down to his office. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in trouble. And then I went down there and he sat me down. And he said, hey, you spend more time visiting with our residents than you do mowing lawns. So I was like, hey, please don't fire me. I need this job. I'm putting myself through school. And he said, no, you mow your lawns, you get your jobs done. But I just want you to realize that there's something with that. You enjoy spending time with our residents just as much as they enjoy spending time with you. He said, I see it on your face. And he told me, I want to talk to you about activities and life enrichment. And I was like, oh, you're trying to fire me. And he said, no, I'm trying to promote you. And at that time, I didn't realize what he was giving me was a gift. It was my aha moment of, yeah, I really do enjoy this. There's things that are worth more than a paycheck that you get to go home and feel good about yourself, which is amazing. And I got into life enrichment. And then what really kind of sealed the deal for me, I was during COVID. I mean, during that time, it was really rough, but we couldn't have entertainers come in. So I then had to become the entertainer. And I was playing music in a memory care area. And there was a resident that she was not very verbal. She wouldn't really make sense when she was speaking. And I was playing the same songs every other week. I was torturing them with the same song. So I was like, I'm going to do something different. I decided to play Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues. And this, right as I hit the last note, this look washed over her face. And she looked at me and said, I haven't heard that song since I was a little girl. And it shook me. It rocked me. Like, where I was sitting, I was tearing up. And it was something that no amount of money, not all the way up to that point in my life, I was looking for something that would fill a space that I needed. And that was really it, was trying to find just that little connection. It was one moment, but it meant a lot. And that was kind of what solidified that I'm in the right place. When I hear stories from people about how they found their career path in senior living, it always is that they stumbled upon it. They never thought they would go there. But it takes a certain type of person, and once that person finds it, they like Charmaine was saying, they're home. They find their home.
They stay.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, that's a great story. And as we all know, especially during COVID time, some days are harder than others in this business, but it's those moments of purpose that I think are what keep those of us that love doing this here. So. Thank you for sharing that story, James. Charmaine, is there a story or a moment that you would like to share with our listeners that remind you why you do this work every day?
I don't have a particular story. I think in the line of work that we do, we go day by day a lot of the time because something new is happening. It's a new day every single day. So curating all those memories for me is a little difficult to do. But what I can say is what brings me back and what keeps me here are the connections that I make every single day, either residents or employees. The fact that you can come in to the community, the building, and say, "Good morning, Bob. Good morning, so and so, and how are you doing?" There's like a story, a consistency, and you get to know the people you're with here, and I think that just keeps bringing me back. To dive deeper, I don't know if there's one particular memory, but might sound a little sad, but for me, the times that I do find myself stopping and pausing are when we lose a resident we care about, if they've passed on. I find myself in my brain just flashing back to all of the fun times that I had with the resident or even our staff had in general. And that just reminds me of why we're doing what we're doing. We get the privilege and opportunity to make, the later part of their lives fulfilling and continue to be fulfilled, as opposed to, what people think is when you age, you no longer have fun. And that is not the case. So many times we'll have a resident pass away. I'll look through the photos on a Facebook or even just through our community here, and I'm like, wow, he or she made the most of their life here at Fountain Plaza, and we're part of that. So
yeah,
that to me is a very rewarding feeling, even though it's sad, and that the toughest part of what we do here is
absolutely
life.
Yes, the hardest part of it, but like you said, also just that beautiful impact that we get to have and be a part of with them is pretty special for sure. So I would like to talk about, I think a lot of our listeners are just beginning their search, and families can be pretty nervous when it comes to senior living and choosing the right space for their loved one, especially if the loved one is resistant to this type of change. Do either of you have a story of someone who was unsure or hesitant to move in and who later really thrived at Fountain Plaza or in your experience in other communities?
Yeah, for myself, I think that majority of people that are coming in to start gathering information, I mean, it's a fire hose of information all at once. They're feeling overwhelmed. It's not a move that most people are looking forward to due to the fact of stigmas that they already have in their head. Like retirement living is still for some generations considered like the old convalescent homes and things of that sort. They have this mindset. They're what they're expecting to see when they come in. My biggest piece of advice for people that are just starting their search is to try to get rid of that and come in with an open mind. And once you walk into a building and take a proper tour, you're going to see that it's completely different. I would say majority of the time that people are coming in to gather information and they say they're not ready yet. You can tell they say, "Oh, we're like a year out. We're 2 years out." I try to then explain to them the difference between independent and assisted living, because a lot of times people are confusing the two and they think they need to wait a couple years until they really need assistance. When in fact, independent living is the perfect time, the sooner the better to take advantage of it. No more chores. You can go on vacation, not worry about your lawn growing 3 feet. So there's a lot of things that people are their own worst enemy when they're starting their search. So to find a Sherpa like myself, Charmaine, somebody to help them kind of guide through all that is huge. And it helps a lot. That's why I feel very responsible when I'm giving people information and giving them a tour, not only to show them just about our community, but about senior living as a general as well. I've seen people come in that were terrified, and they're in the new kid in school. They're very nervous, and then a week later, like a good example, I had a lady that when she first moved in, she would not come out of her room unless she was dressed to the nines. She's very uncomfortable. She'll relax one day, and then one day it was that moment where she came out, hair all just everywhere, in her pajamas to get coffee. I was like, okay, she's well, she feels at home.
She's home.
Exactly. I think the more responsibility that a community takes on to learn about somebody before they move in will help that too. But that also takes the prospect to be open with us and really be able to share too. So it's all about trust.
Absolutely. Yes. Charmaine, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say, well, I don't have a story in mind, but I would say when it comes to beginning the exploration of moving into a retirement community, for loved ones to remember to really involve the senior. That's where a lot of the resistance comes in when you're being told what to do. I don't want to be told what to do either. And so having that buy-in, like as James said, have them come into the community, experience it, get over the stigma by going through it, walk through our building or any community that you're touring, try the food, smell, see, all these things are really going to help them make a decision and make it really less scary. Because so many times I think we've had tourists, they'll come in and they're like, oh, it doesn't smell like urine.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yes,
not supposed to.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you have so much food. Yep, you have lots of choices. So really experiencing it for themselves rather than just having their loved ones make a decision for them is huge. There are times, obviously, where they may not be able to tour because they might be coming in from out of state and they want to have a place right away. Those can be a little challenging, but I'm sure there are many creative ways to do it. We always not always, but we do offer the family members, like, take pictures, take a video of the space. You're welcome to do so. And then, of course, I think the last one I would say is do your research before the urgency is there. Because oftentimes we'll see people tour us after they've already moved into another community and they find that it's not to their liking, but because it was within first two places to move into, they just automatically jump on it. So getting your research done and experiencing the community is very important.
That brings up a really good point too. When people are first touring and looking, the information that they're asking for is super important too. And be afraid to, after the tour, I mean, it happens with me all the time. People will come in for family members. And I always say, we can do a virtual tour. We can do other things because independence is super important. And I always will talk to like a prospective family or prospective residents family rather. And they'll say things like, oh, they don't want to, they're very giving pushback on this, things of that sort. And I started to think like, well, I don't want to be told what to do by my adult children. When I'm older, my children are still going to be my children. So I realized that adult children get a lot more pushback than I do. So if I can talk to the residents themselves, what's coming from me might have a little bit more weight than what's coming from their adult child. And it's easier to take and easier to kind of understand when you're hearing it from an adult child. You don't know exactly what the agenda is from the adult child. So there's a lot of different things, but keeping that person's independence from the very beginning all the way up to end of life is super important, because that's what we all want to be, as independent people. So I always like to say, don't be a caregiver, be a care partner. So we assist people with their independence. We're kind of like spotters. We're not there to tell people what to do. We're there to help them keep their independence as much as possible.
That's great. Love it. I would like to shift gears a little bit for a moment. One of the things that Fountain Plaza offers that is very unique, and I also think speaks very clearly of the values of what Fountain Plaza stands for, is your income qualified program. And I'm wondering if you guys could explain a little bit about how that works and what it was designed for, and how it has been helpful to seniors in the Southern Oregon community.
So Fountain Plaza was built in 1991 with a program that allowed seniors to rent an apartment here for a much lower rate, as long as their income fell below a certain limit. So that was always a program through the state. They controlled it. However, it wasn't a subsidized program. And in 1999, that agreement with the state of Oregon ended. So
2019.
Really? 2019? Did I say 1999?
You did.
Well, I meant 2019, of course. So 2019 is when it ended. However, last year, early 2024, we as a company decided to create a program of our own that would cater to seniors who fell below a certain income limit and who couldn't otherwise afford the retirement lifestyle that we offered. And that was our income qualified program. And it is income based. And if you fell under a certain limit and go through a application process, you could rent a 1-bedroom apartment at a current rate of $1,995. This program, I think, for me personally, it's really been near and dear, because it takes us back to the roots of the Horton family goal of providing affordable housing to seniors. Mm-hmm. And since it started, we've had quite a bit of seniors move in under that program, and has even brought some of them to tears, which, hurt that we're like, yes, this is what this program is meant for. And it's accomplishing what we wanted for it to accomplish. So do you want to add anything more to that?
The income qualified program is one of my favorite things to talk about with residents, especially if they, we're going over financials and we look at the rate sheets and they say, oh man, this is really nice. I really wish I could afford it. Or if anybody starts off a conversation like that, I go, well, let me tell you about our income qualified program. It's near and dear to my heart as well, because it really does show what this company's heart, where the company's heart really is. And it's all person-centered. I mean, for the fact that there is a lot of aid out there for people that need medical assistance. There's ways to get help financially that way. But for independent living seniors in our community, it is hard to find that kind of assistance. So to have somewhere that offers that kind of program is amazing. I mean, it's doing it for the right reasons. It's all heart, which is huge for me. I'm a big heart person. I'm a big people person. So to be able to offer this to people is a gift that this company gives me, because it makes me feel good to be able to help people. So I'm always happy to talk about the IQP program with anybody and everybody.
That's great.
We had a resident, she had come in with her daughter, and they were looking for communities that took Medicaid. She did not at all qualify for Medicaid care-wise, and was kind of really unsure where to go next. She didn't need any care and came in. I started to talk about this program to her and her daughter. At first, they were like, no way. There's no way. And, but sure enough, not both of them. They probably would both want to move in, but Mom moved in and she's been doing great. She's joining activities. She's thriving. She celebrated a birthday not too long ago, and the staff, as part of our tradition, will sing happy birthday and bring out a beautiful cake that our baker makes. And her daughter happened to be there, and she sought me out a few days after that and sat me down and started to just get so emotional about that experience. She said, "You have no idea how big that was." And it's for us, we do for our residents, but really the individual impact was there. She said, that was a beautiful experience, but that was also a healing experience for my mom and I somehow. And I remember that one. And I was like, oh my gosh, if we did not have that program, I'm not really sure where she would have gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
That's a great story. Can you guys just briefly talk about, just so our listeners understand, what is included for those residents for that rate?
Yeah. So for that rate, it's all inclusive for a standard 1-bedroom. The all inclusive is all meals, transportation to and from doctor's appointments, weekly housekeeping. They get everything and then some when it comes to services. So the IQP program isn't really we don't want people to see a difference when they're looking at one resident in their room. There's no difference between the two. The only difference is that person filled out an application. But if you were to look at one room compared to the other and services compared to someone paying the standard rate, there is no differences in services, which is an amazing thing, because a lot of times if you do find a program like that, you're gonna miss some of the bells and whistles. And with this program, you get all the bells and whistles, which is amazing. When I really first started diving deep into it, I was almost like that resident's family member. I was like, no. And it just warmed my heart. I mean, it's a great program. It's all for the right reasons. And, I really do urge people to not think, maybe I can't afford that. I don't want that to ever be a roadblock for somebody to run into when they're starting their search, because there's already so many other things, fire hose of information all at once, that, finances should be something that we can go over together and then, squish that worry and not worry about it anymore.
Well, it's fantastic. Wonderful program. Well, as we're finishing up here today, you both have shared a ton of advice and stories for our listeners. Is there any last words of advice that you want to leave our listeners with before we close out the podcast today?
My advice for people that are beginning their search for a senior living would to be step into it with an open mind. Try to be a fly on the wall when you go visit a community. Don't just see what's right in front of you. Try to look for interactions between staff and residents. Also look for residents interacting with residents too from afar, because you can really see the joy on people's face, and it can be candid. And also speak with the residents that are there. That is probably the best information I can give people, is test the food, go to events, ask if you can go, look at their activities calendar, ask if you can come to an event to kind of help get rid of that stigma. And also talk to the residents. I mean, they're going to give you their honest opinion about what it's like to live at the community that you're searching. And that is a great resource to use.
That's great. Thank you, James. Charmaine, any words of wisdom from you?
That was a lot of wisdom from James.
I know, it was.
I didn't know if I could end on that further, because that's pretty much all of it. It's I would say for our community, use us as a resource, as a tool, ask questions. So many times we've had people show up with a list. One time I had someone with a spreadsheet. I love the resource, and I will second everything that James said, especially talking with the residents. They are the ones who are experiencing life in the community, and they would be the best resource in telling them what it is, how it's going, if they're happy. Yeah, they don't hold back. They don't hold back. Mm-hmm. And our residents, and particularly here at Fountain Plaza, are almost very much excited when they see a tour. They're excited to just go up to them, greet them, tell them to come move in, tell them what it's like. So, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Everything James said.
Gotta be caught that on tape.
Yes, that is recorded. Well, thank you both for sharing your stories, your heart, your insight, and your wisdom with us today. It's obvious that Fountain Plaza isn't just a place to live. It's a place where people truly, feel like they belong. So a place where people can really join in community and connection and purpose. So if you'd like to learn more about Fountain Plaza, we'll have links in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next Community Spotlight episode. And thanks for listening to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This. I'm Angela, and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us reach more adult children and their aging parents and loved ones. Special thanks to our sponsor, Dharma Healthcare Management, for supporting the show. Stay tuned for more honest conversations to help you find peace, clarity, and community with others who understand what you're going through. And we'll see you next time on Hey Mom, We Never Prepared for This.